Welcome to Bryer's Music Showcase. I'm Bryer and welcome to another video. And just like I've done in January and February, now I'm going to be talking about my top 5 favorite CD purchases I've made throughout the month of March. So if you've not seen my CD haul video, please go ahead and do so you can see the possible contenders for this top 5. Got a lot of good stuff, but of course I gotta choose my 5. And I will say, so far this was probably the hardest one because for the most part, all these albums were very solid. Like some of them were very close, pretty much some neck and neck in a sense. But yeah, this was kind of hard choosing a top 5. But I'm gonna stick with what I got right now. And so, hopefully I say this every time. But if not, then usually these top 5 will be contenders for my end of the year top 30 CD purchases. So that I do at the end of the year. So here we go. So like I said, these are my top 5. Obviously, if you've seen the CD haul, you might disagree. There might have been some other ones that probably should have been up here. But again, these are just my personal opinions. So of course, we're going to start with my number 5. So number 5, again, it was really hard to choose one because again, some of them were so close. But I think by a hair, I'm going to go with Cinderella, Night Songs. So like I mentioned in the CD haul, again, Cinderella were kind of just lumped into the hair metal scene because as you can see by their looks, they definitely fit the bill. But here, there's just still some great rocking songs on here, great riffs, catchy melodies. I really enjoy the vocals on here. Very bluesy inspired in spots. It's just overall a very cool album. And yeah, I think this is one of the best from that period. So let me just give you the name of the band. So you have Fred Corey on drums. Then you have probably I guess he's the leader of the band, Tom Kiefer on lead guitar, vocals, and piano. Eric Brittingham on bass and vocals, and then you have Jeff LaBar on guitar and vocals. But yeah, it's just such a cool album. Again, there's not a whole lot to say about it, but it just rocks. And you know, I've always been a huge metal guy, and so I always want to get at least one album in here. So yeah, that's gonna be my number 5. So again, not much to say, but very quick. So number 4, and my 4 and 3, I feel like it's kind of cheating here because I've heard them before, but I didn't own them on physical copies, so they do technically qualify for this video. I'm not sure if they'll qualify for the top 30 because that's usually reserved for albums I've not heard before. But in this video, I'll make an exception. So number 4 is going to be Blow by Blow by Jeff Beck. Again, I've talked about it before many times. I mean, it's the first Jeff Beck album I've sat down and listened to. I did a whole reaction video. So if you hadn't seen it, go watch it, as I've said many times. Hopefully, are people sick of that now? But anyhow, but besides that, it's still a very great album. It's him going in a jazz fusion direction, and I think he absolutely kills it on here. And also, I just want to point out, I just love the album cover to it. Just love the vibe it gives off, which is just basically based on this photo back here, which is also very cool. So just open it up real quick. So, oh yeah, I forgot this thing is blank. Actually, no, there's an elephant in the snowstorm. Did you know that? If you look closely, you'll see it. That's a little joke from, yeah, hopefully, people know what I'm talking about. Anyhow, but yeah, what's interesting about here, again, you have Stevie Wonder is actually a part of this. I forgot which song he plays on, but I believe it was "'Cause We've Ended as Lovers," because he helped write that song with Jeff, which is very cool. Produced by George Martin, so that's another pretty big thing about this album. Of course, produced by a Beatles producer, so of course it's going to sound great. Yeah, I mean, Jeff playing is great. The bass playing is fantastic. Great drumming. I mean, of course, it goes without saying about the guitar playing. I'm pretty sure I said that already. But yeah, it's a great one. I definitely hope to one day dive more into his catalog. So yeah, that's my number 4. Then number 3, again, kind of cheating because I've heard this album before, many of the songs before. Yeah, it's gotta go with the Beatles, Hard Day's Night. I mean, what has not been said about them? I mean, this is their third studio album, technically, in the UK. This is the soundtrack to the film of the same name. The first album with all original material, no covers on here. Just a great album. Especially, this is probably my favorite of the early period before Rubber Soul. Just many classics like the title track, I Should Have Known Better, If I Fell, and I Love Her, Tell Me Why, Can't Buy Me Love, Anytime at All, Things We Said Today, You Can't Do That. Yeah, it's a classic. I mean, I can go more, but again, many people have talked about this album, so I feel like I'm not really gonna add anything new, but this was definitely a good find. I'm very happy to have it in the collection, so it's going to be number 3 in the month purchases. Now this is actually a first, so just to give you a heads up, my top 2 are by the same artist, which is a first. This kind of shows just how impressed I was with these 2 albums by this artist. So it's really tough because obviously people have preferences because this person only released the 3 albums. So that's a good hint. So people always said this album is his best, but for me, it's going to be my second favorite. It's going to be Nick Drake with Pink Moon. So that kind of tells you what number 1 is going to be. But yeah, very impressed with Nick Drake. I do enjoy his voice. Definitely a very low, very unique sounding voice that kind of really does match the tone of the songs during this time period. This is the last album he released in his lifetime. Kind of a sad tale for him. Very tragic because, you know, all 3 of his albums didn't sell that well, so he's kind of felt like he was a failure. And so this album's kind of it's kind of the swan song in a sense, like, hey, this is what I'm feeling right now. Take it for what you will. And again, this album didn't do well, but it didn't take till a lot, like decades later, like a couple decades later, where people finally realized just how great of a songwriter and lyricist he is. And this is often considered his best. Not quite for me. The only thing that keeps it from number 1 is because at the end of the day, it's all just him on acoustic guitar. There's a little bit of piano on the first song, the title track. But that's it. Like, everything after that is solely just acoustic guitar. And, you know, I don't mind acoustic guitar albums. I enjoy some of them. But I'm also the type of person that kind of likes it when there's a bit more to it. Like, if it's just one instrument, like, it's really gotta hook me in order for me to get into it. And for the most part, the album succeeds. It kept me interested the whole time, mainly because of his lyrics. But yeah, it's probably my second favorite. So I know some of you kind of already know what number 1's going to be. But before we do that, let's quickly show some honorable mentions, as always.
Crossroads seem to come and go. In the big dream, we are brothers, we are sisters of the big dream. It's coming, it's knocking at the door. Come on, feel the noise. Girls, rock your voice.
So at number 1, we have Brighter Later, again by Nick Drake. This is his second album. So this pretty much has what I wanted. So I love the musicianship on here. It's not just acoustic guitar. You have drums, you have bass, you have Nick Drake's lyrics and singing, and you have these great atmosphere throughout. Just has there's a bit more hooks to it, and that's really what the album was supposed to do. Was supposed to be more commercial sounding, so it'll get more radio play and therefore be more successful. But again, it didn't. So yeah, and I like the album cover too. It's very simple. It's just him in a chair, very classy. I like the shade of purple as well. And then you have the back cover on it. Let me just show you what the inside looks like real quick. So that's what the disc looks like on Island Records there. And I like the feel of the booklet too. Again, it has a different texture than most. So you open it up, you have, of course, you have photos of him. Then you have the lyrics, of course. I feel like the more I listen to this album, the more I'll really love his work. We might have something similar like Joy Division in a sense. And I just realized there's something, I think the staples are rusted. Like, oh my god. This is a used, this was a used copy, by the way, so it makes sense. But what the heck happened there? Yikes. Huh, that's kind of nice. I like how the song Northern Sky has a sky background. That's probably my favorite song on the album, if I'm going to be honest. But yeah. Just looking at the track listing. Not the track listing, like the personnel. See who played on the album. Yeah, just a shame. Just another one of those tales on what could have been. A little fun fact, John Cale was actually a part of this album. Of course, from the Velvet Underground. Little tidbit. But yeah, that's my favorite album of March for 2023. So let me know your thoughts on my top 5. Again, this one's a bit short. I think this one's a bit shorter than the last couple ones, but you know, whatever. Sometimes a short one is always nice. A nice little refreshing. Nice little refresher, I should say. I know my grammar. But yeah, thank you so much for enjoying this. Again, let me know your thoughts on these top 5 and my honorable mentions too, of course. And yeah, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like. Of course, subscribe if you're new. And I'll see you in the next one. Take care and goodbye for now.